Greetings. This is Rimworld, a game which I recommended that Rogue check out because I saw that he was a fan of The Sims, and I told him this game is somewhat similar to The Sims. Not entirely similar, but there's some similarities. Now you can choose your difficulty here. There is a commitment mode. I want to go for medium difficulty because I'm not the greatest at the game. I've played it and I know the basics, but I don't know it as well as some do. Now you have Randy Random, Cassandra Classic, and Phoebe Chillax. These are the AI storytellers which throw events and disasters your way. Phoebe Chillax is, I'd say, the easiest, the most casual, and Randy Random is probably the hardest. Cassandra Classic is probably the default one. Now, you want this is where you create the world. There's no reason to really change anything unless you really want to, because the default settings are good enough for most purposes. The world, even a 30% generated world, is going to be more than big enough for most purposes. Now, this is the world we created randomly using the default settings. As you can see, you got your different biomes, and there's different factions on the map. Some are neutral, some are friendly, and some are hostile. And you can embark anywhere, including even on the ice sheet, which I wouldn't recommend unless you're an expert at the game. I think what I will go for is probably a desert, because like New Vegas kind of thing. Now right here, this is a hostile faction known as the Crows, and I guess you could think of them as being like the Fiends from New Vegas. But for the most part, factions are neutral. However, relations can go up or down depending on your interactions with them. And right now I'm looking into the mountains, or the desert, I should say, and it can be flat. There's different elevations. You can have flat terrain, some small hills, large hills, mountainous, or impassable. There's also extreme deserts, which are extremely hot and a lot worse than the normal deserts. Now I think I'll just go for a normal desert, because I would like to be able to grow some food and not die right away. And this will tell you the average temperature, the types of stone you can mine on the map. In this case, limestone and granite. The growing period is 50 of 60 days. Ideally, you want year-round growing period, because you depend on food for survival, so not being able to grow food is really bad. Now, this desert here has caves, which makes things a lot more interesting, because there are things which spawn in the caves. Some creatures. And here is where we create our characters. Usually I just go I just look through the default already generated ones, and as you can see, there's the biological age and the chronological age, which isn't the same thing in this game. This person is a female, is good at shooting. These three are all females. However, what we want is 3 males instead. This male is an intellectual. He is also kind, pessimist, and ascetic. Not entirely unlike myself, so I think I will go with him. And he is 193 years old. Again, kind of like myself. And this just shows the stats and whatnot. Now you can change their name here. Actually, I've never done this before. There's a limit on how many characters you can put in. That changes the occupation. Well, close enough, I guess. Now, this guy, he doesn't have any combat skills, which is not a good thing. He's got a scar on his torso, which means that he's going to be in pain all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and randomize until you see this person has some scars and is a misogynist. So if we wanted to include Oxhorn in the settlement, this would be a good choice for that. However, he is incapable of caring, much like Oxhorn, incapable of social, firefighting, and hauling. So he won't do much of anything. He's essentially a classy man. This guy is incapable of intellectual and crafting, which isn't a big deal because I already fill that niche myself. And he's an excellent grower. He has a burning passion with plants, which is good because, as you know, food is your lifeline. His name is Jeremy, and we can edit this to Rogue Internet Man. Internet. And his occupation is man. And his biological age is 21 years. However, his chronological age is 103. Now, the reason why those two are different is because these people were in cryostasis, where they were like frozen, and they did not age during that time, I guess. Because that's how this game works. Because you're like flying in a spaceship and you crash land on a planet and you wake up from cryo sleep. Now this guy has a burning passion for shooting, and he's also a careful shooter, and he's good at medicine, which we'll need. He's got a lot of good passions, but shooting is his burning passion, which means that he earns XP 150% more when he's performing those skills. If it's just a normal passion, it's, I think, 100% bonus, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, we will we're gonna change this guy to rogue because I don't know. Now this other guy, because he doesn't have any good. The reason I didn't want to take him is because he doesn't have any good combat skills, and everybody needs to pull their weight in this game because the settlement will come under constant attacks. Okay, this person is a psychopath, which we don't want. That means they have no empathy, and well, it's okay in certain respects. However, they have a lot of addictions, and they also have a prosthetic arm, which reduces their efficiency. Here's a cannibal who has no problem with eating human flesh. However, he is incapable of violence. Now, isn't that strange? A cannibal and a psychopath who is incapable of violence. Now, here's a pyromaniac, a body purist, and industrious. And they are good with they have a passion for art. So I think I know exactly who this guy will be, because Shitlord Builds is an artist. Now, if musician was a skill, then I would take that into consideration. But he's also industrious, which is also good. He's a body purist, though, which means if he loses limbs and they have to be replaced with prosthetic limbs, then he's not going to be happy about it. Three of you awake in your crypto-sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown Rimworld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive. Okay, and right away, can take a look at the map, and as you can see, here are the caves, and there's a big mega spider and some smaller insects over here, and this is their hive, which more will spawn from. And eventually we want to deal with these guys somehow, because they will keep reproducing, and eventually they will come after us. Now, if you right-click on Allow, you can unforbid all of the currently forbidden items on the map. Now, when people first spawn in, these red X's mean that these things are forbidden, which means that the colonists will not do anything with them. But now we have unforbidden them, so they can be handled. And this is an old abandoned or destroyed structure made out of steel. There's quite a few structures on the map from I'd say an ancient civilization or whatever that has long been destroyed. Now this one right here is pretty crappily built, but it will serve useful as our first temporary shelter, because on the first day, your colonists, if they don't, they will sleep under the outside, and they will not be happy about it. So ideally, you want them to have shelter to sleep in, so they don't get pissed off. But another thing we need is a stockpile where they can gather all of the materials for storage, and we'll put a roof over it to protect it from the elements. Now, ideally, you'll have like a warehouse and store your things under inside of a building with walls and a door and all that. But we can't have that right away because it's going to take time to build it. And Rogue is the best shooter, so we're going to give him the bolt-action rifle. Shitlord doesn't have any passion for anything, so I guess we'll just give him the plasteel knife. And as for myself, I'll just go with the revolver. And there's a helmet and some body armor and stuff laying around, and I'm not sure who should get it or not, but eventually somebody will just pick it up and randomly start using it. So I'm not going to manually assign this to anyone, and I think I'll just go with first come, first serve basis, basically. This is a piece of ship chunk which you can deconstruct to get some steel and components. However, that's not a priority right now. What is a priority, though, is getting this stuff hauled in, especially the food. Now, there's wild animals which will spawn in on the map, and they will steal your food. So that's one reason why you want to have like a warehouse and get it inside walls. Ideally we would want to have some beds, but we don't have enough wood at the moment. You can build beds out of silver, steel, or wood, but since we don't really have a lot right now, we're just going to build sleeping spots, which is nothing more than a designated spot on the floor. So basically, we're just going to be sleeping on the floor on the first night. And at least we'll have a door also. And I'm going to go ahead and claim this abandoned structure. And what that means is that the colonists will repair it if it's damaged, and so on and so forth. This is a steam geyser, which later on we can use for electrical power, geothermal specifically. Okay, we want to make some stone blocks to build structures and such. So I'm going to go ahead and put down a stonecutter's table. I'm going to use some steel for that. I don't want to use up all our steel, but I think we got more steel than wood, basically, so I think that's the better choice. And we're going to want to grow some crops as well, obviously, because we need food. Now, this is the dark soil is fertile soil where you can grow. You cannot grow on the sand. The only thing that can grow on the sand is wild plants which randomly appear. Now, for the first crop, we probably would want to go with strawberries, I'd say, because those you can eat without cooking, and there's no penalty for doing so. Now, Shitlord is a gardener with 10 skill, so that means he's able to grow just about anything. And he will do it pretty rapidly also. Like I said, we're going to start with the strawberries, but we're not going to rely on that alone. We're also going to put in some potatoes, which are a pretty decent all-around kind of food. Now you can grow the three main crops that you can grow for food are rice, potatoes, and corn, and they all have their own pros and cons. But I would say that the potatoes are the best all-around option. Rice grows the fastest. However, it doesn't yield as much, if you know what I mean. As Fallacy draws near the ancient wall, a sense of foreboding overcomes him. He isn't sure why, but he feels that this dusty structure may contain a great danger. Now these are some wild animals called boomalopes that have spawned in, and we can tame them and domesticate them, or we can hunt them and kill them, or we can just leave them alone. But when they die, they explode and cause fires. So that's something to take into consideration. It's not a big deal on a desert map like this because there's very little vegetation, so fires aren't a big deal. Now, it's already nighttime and everybody's going to bed. At least they don't have to sleep under outdoors. Though there's no beds though, so that's going to be something we're going to have to prioritize for the next day. And they also need warm clothes, need recreation. Now the easiest recreation is a horseshoe pen. It only takes 10 wood. We don't have a lot, but they need a recreation source or else they might have a temper tantrum or something. And saguaro cactuses are one of the sources of wood on this map. It doesn't yield a lot of wood, but it yields some. And there's also these drago trees. Those are the two types of trees, quote-unquote trees, which grow in the desert. I think in an extreme desert, if I'm not mistaken, there's no trees at all that grow. So you've got a real problem there. But it's been a while since I played this game, so I could be mistaken. Okay, we're hunting this boomalope here, and you'll see when it's killed, it's going to blow up. And that is because these boomalopes, they produce like some kind of gas that you can if you domesticate them, you can harvest the gas and use it for fuel and stuff. Now I'm gonna put a stockpile here for the stones, the chunks, and the blocks, which we're gonna use for building structures. And as you can see, the boomalopes are already getting into our stockpile, and they're eating our limited supply of food, which is not good. And wild animals will also eat your crops too, so you gotta watch out for that. And in the long run, you'll probably want to wall off your farms and all that. But for now, we got to deal with other things. We can't. You got to start off with the basics before you can get to that point. Now that we do have some blocks, I think we can start constructing our first structure. We'll build it out of slate. And it'll be an 8x8 with a slate door, of course. And the colonists are already hauling in the material. Now we want an air conditioner as well because it gets extremely hot in the desert. Now the blue side is where the cool air flows, and the red is where the exhaust comes out. Obviously we want the hot air to go outside and the cool air to go in. And I like to build things as symmetrically as possible. However, it's not always feasible to do that. And of course you need electricity to power your air conditioning and all that. So we'll start with the windmill. It's going to take them a while to build all this stuff. So you don't want to queue up too much work for them because it's going to take a while. And once we have that built, then we'll put in some beds and they won't have to sleep on the floor. But it's going to take a little while. Actually, we're out of stone blocks. Somebody's going to have to make more of them. Now you can cut down the saguaro cactuses at any time. However, I always like to wait till they're fully grown so that you can get the maximum harvest of wood out of them. I know there's mods that simplify wood harvesting and all that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this ship chunk. We could probably use the components anyway to build that windmill. And yeah, we need a meal source. That's another thing. We're gonna need an electric stove to cook the food. However, the strawberries can be eaten raw, so that's not too big of an issue. Sometimes things like agave will appear on the map. I'm gonna deconstruct this steel wall because we might need the steel. At some point. We got over 800 steel right now, but it'll get used up over time. I don't know why these power cables didn't get messed up like that. But this is an issue with the game. Now we got some visitors from Pablium. Now whoever has the best social skill, we need to send Surprisingly, it's me. We don't have anybody with a burning passion for social, but turns out I have 5 social skills, so we'll go ahead and somebody put on the flak pants and took off their normal pants, so we'll go ahead and sell that and buy some packaged survival meals, I guess. Some more blocks are being made. Ideally, they would be made out of slate rather than granite. There's a bunch of different types of stone, but slate is the easiest to work with. Okay, now we can name our settlement. Since it looks like you'll be here for a while, Fallacy thinks that you should give your faction a name. What should your faction be called? The Clave. Fallacy also thinks that you should give this settlement a name. What should this local settlement be called? Right now it's called High Hope, which is okay, I guess, but we can do better. We're gonna name the settlement Shill Busters. So our faction is the Clave, and this settlement is known as the Shillbusters. Two colonists are idle, which is not good because we need work to be done. If nobody has anything better to do, they can deconstruct these walls and we can use that material. Good, that'll give everybody work to do. Okay, and our structure is finished and the roof has been put in place. But we don't have any flooring. It's just the sand floor. So, I guess we just put some slate floor. I said that slate was the easiest material, easiest stone to work with, but that was actually wrong. Sandstone is the easiest. I was mistaken on that. However, there is no sandstone on this map, so our only options are basically slate and granite. And we got a mad iguana, which will attack our colonists if we do not kill it first. Now, Shitlord's got the knife, so we're gonna send him to run in and... Okay, he's already dead, though. Alright, so we can undraft everyone. And if we had a butcher's table, we could butcher that iguana. But we don't even have a stove yet. So we aren't able to cook it. So, unless we can get things set up in a hurry, then that iguana's going to start rotting. I think you have a couple days before that happens, but we still got plenty of our packaged meals though, so we're probably good. Our crops will probably come in before it becomes an issue. Okay, I'm gonna put everybody on construct, because only one person was doing any construction, and we need everybody to pull their weight here, basically. We need structures built, and we need them built in a hurry. Okay, it's morning and everybody's waking up. The iguana's still laying there. I'm just checking these cactuses, or cacti, I should say. Now you can look at there's the skills, and as you can see, as the work is being done, they're gaining XP and eventually they level up. Now there's no burning passion, so I'm only learning at 35%. Okay, these are the caves, and there's a big giant thing roaming around. Eventually, if we don't do something about it, eventually they'll multiply and come after us. I don't know. I don't think we're strong enough to deal with them just right yet, but sooner or later we're gonna have to do something about them. Okay, we took the walls down, but there's still some flooring there. Now these are ancient structures from centuries or perhaps millennia ago. I don't know exactly what the story is with these worlds and the old ruins, but I guess you could think of Rimworld as being a post-apocalyptic game of sorts, because this is on an alien world and some sort of apocalypse happened a long time ago, and the whole world is in ruins now. And it isn't necessary for me to wait until the flooring is in, but I like to get everything done before I start on something else. We're still lacking beds, and I'm trying to find enough wood to make sure that we can build as many as we need. Okay, internet is putting the flooring in place. Alright, we got our first raid. Now, it's only going to be one person, and he's only got a basic knife, so we should be able to take him out pretty easily before he can even do anything. So we're going to draft everybody and get them into cover behind these rocks. Actually, we'll set up over further back. Now, since he's only melee, he can't really do anything until he gets to us, but he should be dead before that happens. Alright, he's not dead, but he's down. Now let's see what damage we did to him. Let's look at our skills. He's got a lot of burning passions, but he's depressive and he's jealous. Okay, he's good at crafting and animal. He's got decent skills. However, he's going to be dead in 5 hours unless we heal him up. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up a prison, basically. And this medical. Now that means we no longer have our beds, but we're going to be moving into here anyway, so we might as well get those beds built. And let's see, who is our medic? Shitlord has 4. Rogue has 12. And I unforbid his knife, so we can probably sell that. I don't know if it's worth keeping. Okay, Rogue is treating him. He's going to be dead in 4 hours. Now 6, 10, 23. Okay, he's fully patched up. However, his lung is destroyed. And we can install a bionic lung into him if we wanted to keep him around. But honestly, he's just another mouth to feed. So I would say we'll just release him. You can recruit him, release him, or execute him. Or you can also even harvest organs from your prisoners, but we're just going to release him. And if he makes it back safely to his faction, then that will improve relations with the crows, and we can eventually get neutral or maybe even positive relations with the crows and get them to stop raiding us. So we'll let him go, and he will go tell his people that we're not so bad, and maybe they'll leave us alone in the future. Yeah, mind-shattering pain. And he's just naturally depressed anyway, so we probably wouldn't want to have him around. Okay, internet just fed him. I'm not happy about giving him our food, but I guess it's necessary. Soon enough we'll have these crops coming in, but that iguana sat there too long and now it's rotted. So we're gonna have to do something about that corpse because it's unsightly. We need a butcher table to but first of all we want to put in an electric stove for cooking. Right here's good. And table. The colonists like to eat on a table if possible. So we'll put 2 and 1 for the cooking stove. 2 chairs. Because people are more comfortable if they're sitting rather than standing, so it's Better to have chairs than not. And of course that uses up all our wood, so I need to go chop down some more cacti. Alright, our stove is hooked up and we will set it to start making some simple meals. You can make simple, and there's two other kinds, but we'll just go with the simple for now. Now eventually we want to put the butcher table indoors somewhere, but we don't want to put it in our living area, because a butcher's table will create a lot of mess, obviously. It makes an area very filthy, so you want to have your butcher's table in a separate area. Eventually we'll build, we'll construct a building for it, but for now we're just going to have it outdoors. Oh shit, these animals are... Everybody's coming and eating our food, look at that. Every animal on the map is coming to... Okay, we're gonna have to hunt these guys. And our crops are on fire. That's great. Alright, I'm gonna set up that butcher table now. These assholes ate our food, so now they're gonna make it up to us by becoming our food. I think that's fair. That's what you get for being a thief, right? And I'm gonna put some walls around this, so it'll be indoors. Taking advantage of the natural walls that are already in place, so that we don't have to use as much material. And we're gonna put a light in there, maybe an air conditioner too eventually, but definitely a light. And let's put a light in our prison as well. We don't have any prisoners, of course, but eventually there will be more. And only one of our colonists has good construction skills, so a lot of the work is getting botched, which means the material gets wasted, which is unfortunate. But it's necessary, because we gotta have everybody working on this, because the work needs to be done. You can't just have one person doing all the work. And the good thing is, as they level up, the colonists will get better and better at it, and there will be less and less botched constructions. So I set up a tiny little stockpile here, which is going to be just for food. Maybe one here too, or maybe not. Alright, now we gotta set up a bill for butchering animals. Just do it forever. Now every animal we kill will now be butchered and turned into meat. Alright, we got some traders here, and I think that Shitlord, being the extrovert, should be the social guy. But he has 0 skill, but over time he can get better at it. Now, these are things you can buy from these merchants. We can buy a capybara, which is the largest rodent. And some kinds of animals will yield different products like eggs or milk, etc. But some are just pets and don't really do anything. Now, a tube television, that will provide some recreation, which we do need because we don't want people to start throwing tantrums. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a television, and we will install that in our living area. Now that you can see where if we put it here, then all those seats will be covered and people can watch TV while they eat. So that will help with the recreation. Eventually we'll get more elaborate stuff going on, but for now, yeah, these damn wild animals keep coming in and eating what little food we have. That dead iguana's still there. Eventually we're gonna have to do something about that. Okay, the raw meat is being stored outside, which I don't think is great, but eventually we're going to want to build a freezer so we can store the food so it don't rot. Okay, Shitlord is trading with these visitors. We're going to buy their meals, and we'll buy 3 beers, 1 for everybody. And beer provides a little bit of recreation as well. You want to keep your colonists having good recreation and all that. You can make your own beer, of course. If you have, you got to build all the stuff though, and we're not in that position yet where we can do that. Oh God, there's another one of those damn boomalopes eating our potatoes. Look at that. Okay, a transport pod crashed. PU. A female space refugee of the Crows. She has a cochlear implant, and she will be dead in 14 hours. She is very neurotic, and she's a nudist. She's got excellent social skill and a passion for it. So she can be our negotiator from now on. But we need somebody to go rescue her. And she will go into the prison room where she will be treated, and eventually we'll try to recruit her. Because she's got good skills and she doesn't have any major issues where we wouldn't want to have her around. And our food is coming along nicely, so I think we're in a position where we can take on a new member. So here's your settings for dealing with prisoners, and we want to recruit her, so we'll set that. And now that we have a new member to the colony, we're going to want to build more living area, obviously. I'll build another structure exactly the same as the other one. And maybe this one we'll put all the beds in or something. I don't know. We'll get it figured out. I'm building this one out of granite because we have more of it now, I think. And granite is the sturdiest building material. It's good to have for your prisons and anything where you want the most durability possible. However, I think it's the hardest to work with and to turn into stone blocks. Slate is... I was wrong about the slate because the sandstone is easier to work with. However, the slate is lighter, I think. I think slate is the lightest stone, so it's the easiest to haul and stuff, but sandstone is the easiest to turn into blocks and to mine and all that, but granite is kind of the opposite of sandstone in that sense. And you can also build your structures out of wood, and if we were on a typical biome, that would be a good idea, but here in the desert, wood is a precious commodity. Our only source is these cacti and the drago trees. Okay, a boomalope has self-tamed. And it's a female, so she will yield milk, which for a boomalope I think is actually fuel. And then here's one that's eating our strawberries. Okay, I'm gonna have him hunted because we need to protect the strawberries. And then okay, I don't know if we want to keep that female. We can sell her to a merchant if they'll buy her, but I don't think we really need the fuel for anything at the moment. Another thing we could do is just slaughter her, though, which is pretty grim, but this game, sometimes it's what you gotta do, unfortunately. Sometimes you even have to resort to cannibalism. Okay, we're building some walkways here. Movement speed is faster when people are walking on tile rather than sand. So that'll get people moving around faster and help with productivity a little bit. It also makes the environment more beautiful. There is some... aesthetics is another thing which colonists care about. A really unsightly environment can affect their mood, so you want to keep things clean and decorated to some extent. And that's where the art comes in. If you have an artist they can create art things, and you can put them in a room, and it will increase the beauty of the room. And that's something, eventually we're going to want to do that. But to construct art, it takes stone blocks or wood or something, but we don't really have too much materials right now to spare to create art. But we do have two people who have a passion for art, so eventually we're going to want to put that to use, you know. And it's a good thing to sell too. If you create art and you sell it to merchants, you can make good money doing that. But we don't really have a surplus of materials at the moment. Okay. Now, my construction is 2. I think it was 0 to begin with, but I've gotten better at it, but I'm still nowhere near good. Internet is our best constructor. And eventually, when we have most of our stuff in place, we'll probably turn off the skills for those who aren't good at it. But for now, we need everybody doing the work. Okay, there's an ostrich for hunting, and that will get butchered. Now, you don't just get meat, you also get the hides or furs or whatever, which you can use to create apparel. Different types of animals will yield different types of fur or hide or whatever. And it does matter. The clothing, when you make clothing, it does matter what kind of material you use to make it. Some materials have better value or qualities than others. There's different protections against the cold or the heat, depending on which material. Like, you can make parkas, which obviously you probably don't want to have here in the. Now, see, nobody has the skill to build the floors except internet. Okay, we can. I'm thinking about moving the kitchen stuff over to here, but now that I think about it, I think we need a freezer to store our food so it doesn't spoil. I'm gonna set the temperature to -3°C and put it in a stockpile, and this stockpile will be the food basically, as well as any perishable materials such as medicine. And we also want to have a light in there so people can see when they're standing in the room, because if there's not a light and they're in darkness, then they get a mood penalty from that. Okay, some boomalop meat has rotted away in storage, and that right there illustrates the issue that we have. Why we need to put it in a freezer. Yeah, boomalop just I think that was the one that tamed. I think I set it to be slaughtered. Because this is getting ridiculous with all these animals coming in. We're going to have to wall this whole thing off at some point. The one good thing about it is we're getting a lot of meat, though. But, and by shooting them, we're getting our, it's good practice for our gun skill, too. That's another thing. Because more raids are going to come, and we need to keep our combat skill in tip-top shape. As the game progresses, the raids will become more and more powerful. It starts off with just a single guy with a melee weapon, but eventually it's going to be huge armies are going to start coming after us with all sorts of weapons. So we got to get prepared for that. And as you can see, our potato crops have finally come in. Okay, we're still trying to recruit PU. The higher somebody's social skill, the easier it is to recruit people. PU herself has great social skills, so she would be a great recruiter if we ever get her on our side. Okay, that iguana is still here. He's mummified, basically. I think we should set up a dumping zone for corpses. Okay, a friendly AI from your past named Charlton Whitestone has sent you a message. He reveals that he has a starship hidden on this planet and sends you its world. Alright, it's located all the way over there, and we are right here. So, eventually we're going to want to migrate our way all the way across the world to get back. Prisoner PU's resistance has broken, and now she can be recruited. Okay, we're gonna put a corpse zone right here. And already the iguana's been placed there, so it's out of sight and out of mind. And those raids that come. Okay, Fallacy promised patience to PU and asked her to join. PU has accepted and joined Fallacy's community. Okay, so we now have a new member of our colony named PU, who is very neurotic, and she is a nudist who would prefer to go without clothing. So I can tell her to drop her clothes, and she'll be happier without wearing them. And we'll put her on construction as well. And I guess that's it. Now that she was wearing a dog leather button-down shirt. I don't really particularly approve of people wearing dog leather, but right here's a rare thrumbo. These things, you don't want to mess with them unless you have like a really strong military, because just one of them can take on the whole colony, and if I were to attack it, all of my colonists might end up killed by it. So we'll just leave it alone. But they do have horns, which are extremely valuable, kind of like a unicorn, if you think about it. They're basically the game's equivalent of a unicorn. And you can potentially tame one, but it's extremely, extremely difficult. And when you attempt to recruit an animal, there's always a chance the recruit will fail and the animal will turn hostile. And we don't want something like that becoming hostile, so alright, well, I'm going to construct a new building here because we need more housing. Eventually, I think we're going to want to have a dedicated dining area too, instead of it all crammed into one structure, like how we got it right now. This isn't an ideal setup, but it works for the time being. We're gonna want a bigger table, you know, all kinds of different things. But right now, we're just focusing on the basics. And we're going to need more wood for the beds, of course. Eventually, we can research tree farming, and then we can plant trees and grow our own wood. It takes a long time for trees to grow, of course. But it is a reliable source of wood, because when you the cactuses, they're, you know, you only get, they come up sporadically, and they don't yield a lot. Okay, construction's going pretty quickly here. Everybody's working on it. New stone blocks are being made, which is good. PU needs a bed. We're gonna have to get this all up and running. PU's gonna have to sleep on the floor for the time being, because there's no. Okay, our electrical situation is a bit sporadic because we only got the one wind turbine, and it depends on if the wind is blowing or not. Sometimes the wind dies down and there goes your power. So we need some... I'd like to research more how to build solar panels. And those two, the solar panels, they are dependent on the sun, of course. So you don't get any power from them during the night. So that's where you want to have batteries. Because batteries can store the electricity and you can run off the batteries during the downtimes when you're not generating power. But batteries is another thing we have to research. We can't build them at the moment. It used to be that you could build them like right away, but the game was patched to where it's now something you have to research. Now I'm gonna move the stonecutters thing into here. Now, PU, this is gonna be her bedroom, but also at the same time, she's gonna have to deal with all this other stuff that's gonna be packed in there as well. There's gonna be stone cutting going on. Hopefully not while she's trying to sleep, but during the day. Alright, and there's an eclipse, and that's another thing that can happen from time to time, and during an eclipse your crops don't grow, for one thing, and solar power is not an option either. The only really reliable source of power is geothermal. From, you see those vents there, the geysers? Eventually that's something we're going to want to research, but that's going to be a ways away, obviously. We're probably going to have to dismantle some of our constructions and rearrange things so that we can set up a better... to make better use of our geysers. Because right now the crops are... there's some... it's unfortunate that there's a geyser right there in our crop area, but you know, there's only so much fertile ground on the map, and it's just the way it turned out. Okay, I put up a new dumping zone for the stones right over here, and I'm gonna increase the build so that basically double it to 210. I'd like to have it an even 200, but I guess it's gotta be 210 for some reason. Okay, now it's 200. I don't know what the deal was. Put a door here because that will make it easier for the stone cutter to get in and out of the building. It'll increase productivity basically. And I also queued up a chair to be constructed so that they will be comfortable while they work on the stone cutting. And it's a good quality chair, so that's good. PU's bed is awful, however. Which is bad. That's unfortunate, but you know. Alright, I'm gonna put in research bench so we can start researching all that all that stuff I talked about. The solar panels, batteries, and so on. And that's going to take up a lot of wood, which I think it's going to take more wood than what we have at the moment. So I'm going to have to cut down some more cactuses, or cacti, I should say. I don't know how much each of these yields, but it's not a lot. I think maybe it's like 15, I don't know. So it's going to take a lot of these. All right, we got it. I think it took less wood than I thought it would. So now we can start doing research. And also, we're going to need clothing, obviously. So let's put in a tailor bench. And then we can start making clothing and such. PU's bed is awful, but okay, Shitlord is on a fire starting spree. Now, fortunately, we're in the desert, like I said, so this isn't going to be too bad, but it is annoying, though. But if somebody, that's the problem with pyromaniacs. If they get pissed off, they go running around setting fire on everything. Okay, we can pick our first research project, and I think we want to go for the solar panels. Like I said, that'll give us more diversity in our... Okay, heat wave. Good thing we got air conditioners in pretty much all of the rooms. So hopefully nobody will die. As you can see, the temperature's already 45 degrees, 46 C outside. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's probably really bad. 47, 48. And if you don't have electricity, you can build passive coolers, but it takes wood, which we don't have a lot of here in the desert. And of course, in the desert, that's where the heat waves are probably going to be the worst, right? Certain things like a cowboy hat, that will reduce the heat somewhat. Now we're gonna expand this, probably move our workshops into here eventually, and then we can use that other building for other things. I kind of wanted to build a big warehouse here, but we're gonna have to clear all this garbage out of the way first. And I'm positioning the walls in such a way so I don't build over the farmland, because we might want to use every bit of the farmland for something. Who knows? Of course, we want to air condition this too, so that's another thing. Alright, we got a raid coming. It says a group of pirates, but it's just one guy. Of course, that's because I'm on the medium difficulty. If this was hard, it would be a lot worse right now. But it will get worse over time, regardless. Now we could butcher his corpse for human leather, but that would upset everyone, so we're not going to be doing that. It's good money, though. Human leather is worth a good amount. And he had 13 shooting skill and a burning passion in it. He would have been a great soldier, but fortunately he's dead. We have a prison, so we could have captured him, but he just didn't survive the assault. I didn't tell him to attack. That was his choice, so that's what happens. Alright, we got a short circuit. Somebody will take care of that. Exotic goods trader from PU with her 11 social skill can be put to use here to get the best prices possible. So she's in poor health, but nevertheless, I think she's our best option. Unfortunately, we don't have any money, and they won't really buy anything, so we're not going to be able to do anything there. Rogue is mining the compacted machinery, which will yield some components, which we can always use. Okay, a nearby settlement they want us to give them 155 human leather. Unfortunately, yeah, we could do that with the people we kill from the raids. We could butcher them for the leather, but that would upset everyone. So we're not going to do that. It's a good way to make money, though, because human leather is pretty valuable. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm going to deconstruct these walls. I'm going to make this whole thing more symmetrical. Just so that it looks better, really. Okay, we're gonna link up the grid to unite the both of the wind turbines together, because right now there's one on either side of our settlement, but we're going to link them together for, I don't know, redundancy or whatever. Eventually we'll get some batteries built, and that will allow us to store electricity during the down times when the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining. But we got to research batteries first. And the geothermal things are another thing we want to have eventually. Okay, there's the animal migration. A herd of ostriches, which is only 2. I don't know how that's a herd, but whatever. Going to put a cooler in here. Mine out all this garbage. Get it out of the way. Alright, chunks of spacecraft have impacted. Now the floor in this workshop area, we can polish that floor to make it look very nice, but it's not a priority right now. This is something more in the long term. I'm not really going to be using that room right now, but eventually I'm going to move my workshops into there. Alright, let's set some bills to build some cowboy hats to help with the heat. Let's build 4 of them for all of our colonists. And I guess some t-shirts and some pants as well. Because eventually their clothing will deteriorate over time and they'll want to replace it with something else. And all these animals we've slaughtered, or butchered I should say, you get the meat of course, but you also get the hides, leather, whatever, which you can use to make the apparel. You can also grow cotton, or there's some other things you can grow to use as fiber to make clothing and such. And eventually we'll want to get into that, but right now we're still working out the basics. Eventually, I think I want to have everybody have their own house. Probably an 8x8 house. But it's going to take some time to get them all built. Right now, people have to share living arrangements because we got to make do with what we got. It's not ideal, but okay, all the cowboy hats were made and everybody's wearing them except for me because I'm wearing the helmet. I'm going to put a crafting spot here and a stool so we can have somebody start making some weapons. Now to start with, you can only make some basic, simple weapons. These are your options. You can make a club, a knife, and a short bow. The short bow is your only ranged option to start with. And unfortunately, it takes wood, which we don't have a whole lot of. I want to give PU a weapon, because right now she doesn't have anything. And the raids are going to keep coming and get harder and harder to deal with, so we need everybody to be armed as well as they can be, because we need everybody to be able to defend themselves and fight for the defense of the colony. Good news is the heat wave has passed. However, it is summer and it's still pretty damn hot, which makes sense because this is the desert after all. Rogue is working on the short bow, but he abandoned his job. Now he's going back to it. Okay, it's done. And he put it in the stockpile. Unfortunately, it's in poor condition, but even a poor quality bow is better than nothing. Okay, some meals landed from a cargo pod. We want to get that into the freezer before it spoils. And there's also some slag chunks which we can melt down into steel. Okay, our dog is Misha, and she can be trained to haul stuff around. Now, when you spawn onto the map, okay, we got a refugee here. A militia soldier named Coyote calls you from nearby. She is being chased by pirates from the Crows. We can offer her safety or ignore her message. We're going to go ahead and offer her safety. Now, let's take a look at her bio. She's a psychopath, and she has an annoying voice. And her skills, well, she's good at art and social, but she's incapable of caring, cooking, and cleaning. Well, we already offered her sanctuary, so we have to take her in now. And we're going to have to deal with the group that's pursuing her, which should be pretty easy because we're on a low difficulty and it's still fairly early on in the game. So, but we want to get her. I see she put on the hat, and she's got a club, which is better than nothing. And this guy has a club. He's toast. He ain't gonna do anything. Okay, everybody got some combat experience, though. That's good. Now we'll allow all the items. He had a limestone club. Oh well. Now, if I was playing on a harder difficulty or had a different storyteller, things would be more intense. There'd be more raids and they'd be tougher. But I haven't played this game since November, and I just wanted to take it easy to start with here, because I'm not like an expert at this game or anything. I know the basics, but I'm far from being an expert at this game. So I didn't want to do it on the hardest. There's a empty area in these. There's a. You can see what's in there. There's probably nothing. Usually there's nothing, but when you open it up, it'll reveal an area hidden in there, and there can be stuff in there, but usually there isn't. Okay. It looks like PU is getting dangerously close to the insects. Alright, yeah, the area is revealed, and like I said, there's nothing there, but I just wanted to make sure. There could be, sometimes there's items, sometimes there's, I don't know, there could be enemies, or who knows what. And we just want to get rid of all this garbage, because we're going to build a warehouse right there to store, to stockpile our stuff. And if you hover the cursor over the rocks, you can see if there's overhead mountains. And you want to be careful about mining under overhead mountains, because it can collapse and kill your colonists. And also, when you clear under a mountain, you have a risk of insect infestations. Just like those insects in the caves, they can rise up out of the ground in areas where you've dug under mountains. So that's something to be concerned about. A lot of these cactuses are ready to be harvested. A loner from people of Cobaragua is passing by. His name is Gray Laguea. Now we could talk to him, but I don't think he's anything we need to talk to right now. Okay, our dog Mish has been trained to rescue. So if somebody is downed, she will rescue them and drag them back to a bed. I think this area, this building we can probably use for as like a dormitory or something. Well, let's see what quality these beds are. They might be better than... Okay, this one's poor. The beds we got aren't great, but... mining's going pretty slow. The Drago tree is ready to harvest. That will yield more wood than the saguaro will. Oh god, the construction's botched on that one bed. That means some of our wood was wasted. It doesn't look like there's any overhead mountain in this in these rocks, so it's all safe to mine. There's a tiny little area there to reveal, but I'm sure it's nothing. Everybody's sleeping right now, so nothing's happening. Corpses are being put in the dumping zone where they're out of sight and won't upset anyone. You can also you can dig graves and bury people, but for foreigners, I guess, I don't think it's worth the hassle to give them a proper burial, because nobody in our settlement cares about them. I mean, they're people that came and raided us, like, so they're enemies. Why would we want to care about them? That one bed was garbage, so I'm gonna deconstruct it. You get some of the material back when you deconstruct things, but you don't get all of the material back. But when it comes to awful quality stuff, it's probably worth it to get rid of it. And you can also sell stuff as well, but I don't know who would buy the beds. And an awful quality one wouldn't get much money anyway. Okay, Rogue is making some pants. Looks like Misha has been trained to haul finally, so she'll be doing some of the hauling work. Now, when you embark, you get a pet, but it's random which sort of pet you get. In this case, we got a dog, which is a really good type of pet. There's actually multiple breeds of dogs. There are the small little terriers, which they're too small to haul or rescue colonists, so they're not as good. But this one is one of the better breeds, I'd say. So we got lucky there. It was random. And you can also get, well, there's a bunch of different animals you can potentially get. But we just got lucky, I think. And you can also buy animals like you saw the capybara. I think those are pretty decent pets to have. And you can also tame wild animals, such as camels. We can tame that iguana, for example. But, you know, it's not... The iguanas can lay eggs, so there's that. Okay, there's a hidden structure here. And our research on the solar panel is completed finally. So now we can go ahead and we'll research batteries. Because we want to have reliable electrical output, you know. In case a heat wave strikes or something like that. We don't want to have people die from lack of air conditioning. Now, this tiny structure is not an ancient danger, but there could be something in there, potentially. No, there's nothing. But this is steel, and we can use that steel for whatever. As you can see, Misha is helping with the hauling. Oh, PU went all the way over there just to deconstruct one wall, and then she left. Well, that's very wasteful of time and effort. I hate how they go all the way just to do one thing and then they leave. Hey, do it all. Get it all done. Alright, now we got the flooring, which we can deconstruct. There's some flooring there. And that looks like flooring here. Is it though? No, it's not. It looked like it though. Okay, our electrical wind must be very low because we're not generating enough electricity. But we can build the solar generators now, so that will solve the issue. Actually, 4 of them might be overkill. I don't know. And they don't work at night, obviously. So they wouldn't be working like right now, even if we had them. I think I'm gonna cancel 2 of them. Fortunately, that for some reason that broke the power conduit, which it shouldn't have, but it did. Now we got some more diversity with our electrical generation, and you can use wood in a wood burning generator, or you can use the fuel that you can get from the boomalopes as well. Now this soil here is soft soil, which we can't build on. However, you can build a thing that can drain. It's like water. It's like quicksand or something. But you can extract the water from the soft soil, and then you can construct on it. But that's something that will come later on. Okay, we got some agave we can harvest. There's an emu, but it's not bothering anything, so we'll just leave it alone. Cargo pods. Psychite tea. Now that's another thing you got to worry about, because this is a drug and your colonists can get addicted to it. However, it's good for recreation, but you have to manage. If you chems, they're a double-edged sword, because yeah, they help the colonists' mood and all, but if they get addicted and they go through withdrawal, then you got problems. I'm gonna move the research bench to make this more neat and organized in here. And having done that, it looks like I got room to put another workbench or two. Now let's put in the warehouse thing. I'm gonna have 2 doors because people will probably be going in and out, so having multiple doors will be convenient. And of course we want to cool it, but people won't be working in there all the time. They'll just be going in and out, so it isn't too important. But at the same time, another raid. Still only 1 person, but this one's got a rifle, so it's a little bit more challenging, but still, we should be alright. Eventually they're going to start coming in greater and greater numbers. Now the enemies in this game are pretty smart, and they will use cover to their advantage. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't live long enough to get the chance. But we get a bolt-action rifle out of the deal, and it's in bad condition, but even so, it's probably better than the short bow that PU is using currently. Alright, now we're going to put a stockpile, and we will copy the settings of this one and paste it into that one. And this one has served its purpose, so we'll go ahead and delete it now. And all this stuff will get moved into the new warehouse where it'll be safe from the elements and from wild animals eating it and so on. There's a camel. Now, this is extremely easy to tame camels. Camels are like the easiest animals to tame. And there's actually 2 of them we can tame. That being said, maybe 2 would be overkill. We only probably need the 1 for now. But you can use them to haul things in a caravan, and as you can see, the camel was immediately tamed on the first attempt. And this is a female camel, so she will generate milk, and she can be used as a pack animal, and she grows wool, which can be harvested every so often, and you can use that to make clothing and such. So camels are one of the best animals you can get, and probably the best for a desert environment. Now we could also, the other one was a male, I think. You can if you have a male and a female, you can breed them and create more camels, and you can slaughter them for meat and so on and so forth. But I think that's kind of cruel to do that, but you can. That iguana is deteriorating. When it gets to 0, it will disappear completely. You can also build an electric cremation thing, and you can get rid of corpses that way. Okay, these are hidden areas, and I wanted to reveal them to see what's in there. Probably nothing, but... Alright, there's new lovers. Internet flirted with PU by joking about birthdays. PU was attracted and is now Internet's lover. And that is something that can randomly happen in the game, and you don't have any control over it. It's like The Sims, you know? That's what I was saying. This game is kind of like The Sims in that way. But now that they're lovers, they will want to sleep together. And that means you want to build them some sort of house and give them a double bed so they can sleep together in the same bed. So we're going to go ahead and try to build a house for them. Trying to find a good spot here. Well, that cuts right into our farming area. I like to leave a gap between the structures so people can walk through easily, but we might just have to have it right against the wall there. I think this is a bit larger than the other buildings, but that's fine, whatever. And of course, put some tile down. Both to make it look better and to improve walking speed. Okay, we want to build a double bed. A double bedroll would also work, but it takes cloth, and we don't have that. However, we do have some wood, so we will build a double bed. You can also build a royal bed, but that takes gold, which we don't have. And a royal bed is like the ultimate bed that you can build. It's in good quality. Now, what we got to do is set the owners we're using up all the slate, so that's what's holding up the construction. Of course, you can use a mix of different types of building material, but then it doesn't look as, Now, eventually, this is all overhead mountains here in this cave, so eventually there will be an infestation spawning in. I'm pretty sure. And there's different ways of dealing with it. One thing you can do is fill in the whole area. Oh shit! Some meals came in, and that emu was already eating them. Well, it's no big deal. We got plenty of food, so I'm not worried about it. We actually got more food than we need right now. That's why I haven't expanded the farming. That being said, eventually we're going to want to start growing some medicine and I guess cotton and so on. Maybe some drugs too. Maybe we want to grow some chems. Now we're gonna set this bed to Rogue and PU. So now they'll be able to sleep together, and as you can see, she wants to sleep with the internet, and now she will be able to. Which also means this good quality bed is unowned. So I will upgrade myself from the poor bed to the good bed. And this poor bed can be assigned to someone else, I guess. You know, actually, I probably shouldn't have deconstructed that awful bed. I should have used it for prisoners, I guess. But what's done is done. I can't change it now. But anyway, we're going to call it here. I'm going to go ahead and save, and I don't know if I'll continue this or not, but I just kind of wanted to show this game and what it's about, and all that. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.